The biggest part of a fish's diet is aquatic insects. These insects spend the majority of their life in or on the water, and most of the flies we use in fly fishing imitate these bugs. And so the more us fly anglers know about aquatic insects, the more fish we're going to put in the net. There are 4 main types of aquatic insects, and today we're talking about the smallest but mightiest of them all. We're talking about midges. Midges are teeny, but they're so abundant that some folks claim that they might make up for half of a fish's diet in some watersheds. So let's talk about how to identify these small bugs. Baby midges are super small and look like worms. Some species of midges, especially those that live in lakes, can get big, but often you're imitating midges with flies in sizes from 16 to 28. And if we're talking midge adults, these are kind of like mosquitoes, but they're a bit smaller and they don't bite. Black and brown is the predominant color, although sometimes you'll find them in cream and olive colors too. They have slender, slightly tapered bodies, a single pair of wings that tuck alongside their back, fuzzy looking antennae, and they don't have a tail. And don't worry about writing all this stuff down. We actually have a Midge pocket guide, which includes everything we're talking about today, the graphics, pictures, recommended flies. I'll throw a link in the description if you're interested. Now let's dive into the life cycle of midges and how we can use that to our advantage as anglers. Midges have 3 distinct life cycle stages. They start out as larvae, and in this stage, they look like little worms. Once the midges grow up a bit, they transition into their pupa phase. They're a bit shorter and thicker than they were as larvae. Midge pupa can actually shoot up and down through the water column several times or get stuck in that surface film, making them an easy target for hungry fish. And at this point in their life cycle, they'll emerge from their pupal shuck. Once the midges hatch, they become midge adults. They'll sit on the water surface for a second before flying off to mate. And at that point, they tend to cluster together. After mating, the midges lay their eggs on the water and die, like other aquatic insects. Midges hatch year-round and are often the most abundant food source in a river. I've caught some of my biggest fish on tiny midge patterns in the middle of winter. During those winter months, midges are going to hatch during the warmest part of the day. And then when we get into the warmer parts of the year, you'll find midges in low light conditions. That's early morning and late evenings. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. What flies do we tie on to imitate these bad boys? For midge larvae and pupa, we're going to use nymphs. And some of my favorites are zebra midges in a wide variety of sizes and colors. This thing slays. Demon midges, WD-40s, and rainbow warriors. And then to imitate those adults on the surface, we'll use dry flies. I love Griffith's gnats, Matt's midges, RS2s, smaller parachute Adams, and mother shuckers, pardon my French. Now that we've got a solid grasp on midges, I'm gonna send you on out to Spencer. He's on the river during an epic midge hatch. Let's see if we can apply what we've learned, put some fish in the net.
So you just got done learning a whole bunch about how to pick the right fly. Now we're out here on the river, and guess what? There's an incredible midge hatch going on right now. In fact, I really didn't even want to stop to film this. Alex had to kind of pull me away from the river and say, no, we gotta teach, this is great, this is a good learning moment. And it is, because what we've got going on behind me is a midge hatch. Now, I know they're midges, but if you're new to fly fishing, you probably don't. This hatch is super easy to match though, if you use the right fly formula. I got down here to the water, I took a look around me. I could see a bunch of fish rising, so I looked at the water surface and I saw a bunch of tiny little black bugs. So that was my first clue. I needed something small and black. I could also see those bugs buzzing around in the air, so I knew that had to be what the fish were eating. So I opened my fly box, dug through it, found a couple tiny little midge patterns and tied them on. Now, I'm using smaller patterns than I normally would because I'm on a tailwater. The river that flows out the bottom of a dam is called a tailwater. And on these rivers, the trout tend to be a lot pickier about patterns and presentation. You've got to get it just right. So I tried to match the size as perfectly as I could. So the flies I picked for this little midge hatch is a Matt's midge And then I've got a little zebra midge dropper below it. The Matt's midge is a size 18, and I picked it because it's about the right proportions, it's about the right shape. So this is the right size and shape. I'm also lucky because it's the right color. Midges are black usually, so I got lucky there. Put the little zebra midge on the bottom because if midge adults are hatching, then you can bet the nymph versions of them are out and about as well. So I tied on a little size 20 zebra midge underneath it. So now let's go out and catch some fish. So there's quite a few fish. So there's quite a few fish rising right behind me, and they're rising kind of close and then out in the middle and all the way to the other bank. I'm gonna start with the fish that are closest to me. That's usually what you wanna do. If you try to cast over fish that are close to you to try to reach fish that are, further across the river, whatever, you run the risk of spooking the ones that are close to you, and then they'll go and spook the other ones. The next thing you know, all the fish are spooked and you're standing there wondering where in the heck all the fish went. So I'm gonna start with the fish that are closest to me. I'll work my way out. There's one right behind me. I'm just gonna make a few short casts to him and see if he wants to come play ball.
What happened there, Spencer?
I set the hook too early. I got excited. So I missed the fish. Well, I didn't miss him. All right, I had him on for a second. I stung him. I just set the hook too early, and that happens. I got really excited and was stoked to finally get a fish on the line. But what that does is prove the point, because he came up and he ate a dinky little midge, just like I picked out of the box to match what was going on with this little hatch. Look at that, folks. Even a blind squirrel can find a nut every now and then. No, that's proof right there that the RF formula works. I came out here, I matched a fly in my box to what I saw out on the water, made a few casts, caught a really nice brown trout to end the day. Now, I'm kind of sick of talking. I'm gonna get back to fishing. But there's your reminder that this formula works.